So yes, everybody, what you are seeing on your screen right now is me playing NBA 2K through my Xbox while using my iPad as a display. Now this isn't cloud gaming, this isn't remote play, this is me using just my iPad display as a monitor to be able to then play my games on my Xbox. And it's much easier than you think in order to get this done. So let's walk through exactly how I was able to do this. Let's get into it. So you may or may not remember, but back when iPadOS 17 was announced and it launched last September, Apple gave us the ability to use an external camera as a webcam with your iPad. So that means you no longer had to rely on the selfie camera, you could use a DSLR if you wanted to, you can use an external webcam. But technically what's happening when this is actually being done is that Apple's allowing you to play whatever's happening on the webcam through your display. So that opened up the door to this situation that I'm about to show you, which is being able to use your iPad Pro or any iPad with USB-C as a dummy monitor to then be able to then play whatever you want or output whatever video you want via HDMI. I made a walkthrough video of this being able to be done last year during the iPadOS 17 beta period, and the reason I wanted to update this video is because A, now I'm running iPadOS 18 and it's working spectacularly, but secondly, the application that I mentioned in that first video last year no longer exists, and I wanted to show off this application specifically because it does have a bunch of awesome features, and it's just aesthetically pleasing and it makes your life even that much easier if you want to run this setup. So in order to get the setup going, you need a couple of things. So first and foremost, you obviously need an iPad and you need a USB-C enabled iPad. So as of right now, the cheapest way to do this with the actual iPad is with the iPad 10th generation, which I believe is like $320, $330 on Amazon right now. And then of course, I'm going to be using an M4 iPad Pro. But again, you do not need a powerful iPad for this to happen because you are not using any of the internal compute on your iPad. You're strictly using the display of the iPad and turning it just into a dummy monitor to be able to then play whatever you want. So this will work with a 2018 iPad or newer if you find a used one. This will work with an M1 iPad Air and the new iPad Airs. This will even work with an iPad Mini 6 because it has USB-C. The second thing you're going to need is a USB-C to HDMI capture card. Basically what this capture card does, and I believe you can find them for anywhere from $15 to $20, I'll leave one link down below on Amazon, which is the one that I specifically use, which supports up to 4K 60. So what this capture card does is allow the actual HDMI to be an HDMI out and then HDMI in into the actual iPad itself, allowing it to pass actual video to the iPad, tricking the iPad so you're no longer actually trying to push video out. Because by default, when you plug in any sort of monitor or any USB-C, it'll kind of default for the iPad to send video out, when in reality we want the iPad to accept video and then have video in on the iPad side. So that is what this capture card will allow you to do. And then as I mentioned, this is a dummy display, so you're not limited to just playing with consoles, right? You can obviously play with an Xbox or a PlayStation or a Nintendo Switch, but you can pretty much use this as a dummy display for like a Mac Mini, or use it as a dummy display for a monitor for your camera. So the possibilities are pretty much endless. As long as it has an HDMI out to pass video out, you can use your iPad as a dummy display for any situation that you see fit. So now enough talking, we have exactly what we need. Let's go to the top-down shot and see exactly how to set this up. So like I mentioned, now that we have everything we need, this is my M4 iPad Pro. We're going to be using an Xbox Series S to kind of demo this, but this can work with any console as long as it has an HDMI out. So think Nintendo Switch, PS5, older PlayStations, things like that, and even computers. If you have a Windows CPU or even a Mac Mini and you want to use your iPad as a portable display, you can now do that. But the first thing I'm going to show you is the HDMI capture card that I mentioned earlier, and this is what the capture card looks like. It literally just looks like a USB-C dongle with an HDMI port at the end. Just make sure to go to the link in the description because people get confused and sometimes just buy a USB-C to HDMI dongle, which is not what we want. We need an HDMI capture card in order to flip the switch and make it seem like the iPad is receiving an HDMI in as opposed to pushing out video to another monitor or something like that. So this is going to be the number one thing that you need. And then secondly, you're going to need the Orion application. So this Orion application is what turns your iPad into this dummy display to then allow it to take an HDMI in and take some video in. It's a free application. There's a paid version if you guys do want to check it out. If you go into the settings, go to Upgrade to Pro. It does allow for 4K upscaling up to 4K 60. It gives you some adjustments in terms of what you can do from a visual standpoint. So if you download the application, there's actually a little bit of a demo that you can go through. So if you try the demo, it shows you exactly what it would be like to get a full upgraded version, which is basically the ability to adjust the brightness and things like that. And as you can see, it kind of looks like an old CRT TV. You can change the effects. So if I go to CRT, you can change kind of this look a little bit if you want to. And then of course you have the 4K upscaling. But now that you have the capture card, you have the application, you have your Xbox turned on, and then the next thing you're going to do is very, very simple. You're going to grab your HDMI cable that's connected to the Xbox itself, plug it into the capture card, and then plug the USB-C end into the iPad. And then you can see that right away it is bringing me into a game that I already had. I'm going to turn on my controller, and it's going to show it to me exactly. I'm going to press start, and then you can see that I'm playing NBA 2K and playing on the Xbox. As you can see, I'm pressing the middle button. It's showing me all my games, Madden, 2K, Hogwarts. You know, I can go to my games and apps. I can go home if I want to. So this shows me the Xbox interface. And again, I'm not cloud gaming. I'm not doing any sort of remote play. I'm literally playing my Xbox directly on my iPad, and the iPad is just being used as a display. It's not using any of the internals like I mentioned before, and it's just very easy to use. And since it is working that way, there is little to no latency, right? It's the same exact latency that you would get from using any other kind of physically plugged in device. So everything works pretty automatically. It's very easy to play. And some of the nice things about being able to use your iPad as a display is that because it is HDMI, the audio is going to default from the iPad. So it uses the quad speakers or whatever speakers that you have already in there. So you might be able to hear, you know, the announcers talking right now. And it's just a very nice and easy way to be able to play. And I'm just a big fan of exactly how this is being used because I'm able to use my speakers. And then on top of that, since I have AirPods Pro, I can connect my AirPods Pro to my iPad, and then that's going to send the actual audio to my headphones very, very easily. So it's not like I need to connect a Bluetooth headphone to the Xbox. I'm plugging in my Bluetooth headphones wirelessly to my iPad Pro. And now I will say, since we do have a 120Hz OLED display on this M4 iPad Pro, you might think that you'd be able to play games in 120 FPS. Unfortunately, you cannot. It is limited to 4K 60, and it's limited in two different fashions. It's limited by the application itself, and then limited by this dongle. Now, there are HDMI capture cards that give you 120 FPS, but I haven't found an application that allows you to kind of port over those 120 FPS to play, you know, competitively a sports game or competitively a shooting game, which I know most people really want to see happen when it comes to games like this. So again, what's nice about the fact that you can use iPadOS 18, you get all the benefits of using the iPad. For instance, I can go into Stage Manager, make the window a little bit smaller, and look, I'm still playing over here. I can pull up something like Twitter or another application and bring it over, which is great to see. So overall, you get all the benefits of the iPad, which is awesome. So if I go back over here, let's turn off Stage Manager so I can make a full screen. And then if I tap on the screen, you then get the controls of the actual application itself, which is being able to adjust brightness, but it's going to ask you to pay for it, being able to change the VFX or the visual effects, and then lastly, you get all your settings right here, which there aren't really any settings to begin with. But that is how you set up and use your iPad Pro as a dummy display. Let's get out of here and finish up the video. So that will do it for this video, everybody. Like you saw, it's extremely simple as long as you have the components that you need. It's also very cheap. For $20, you can have pretty much an on-the-go setup if you want to, because it's really not unheard of to bring your Nintendo Switch with you with a little stand, or bring even an Xbox, because the Xbox Series S is actually relatively small and lightweight nowadays. Overall, I'm a huge fan of this setup. I actually use this on multiple occasions. For instance, if my TV is being used by my wife or my child or something like that, and I still want to get a little bit of gaming in, but don't want to leave the room and be kind of isolated by myself, I'll just bring my iPad with me, bring the Xbox down, and then be able to plug and play like that. And I'll still be able to play my Xbox game while the TV's being taken up, and not mess around by changing the channels or anything like that. So I personally use this setup a decent amount, but that's gonna do it for this video, everybody. If you made it to the end, leave a little dolphin in the comments down below so I know you made it to the end. And also leave some questions down below of anything that I might have missed overall, and let me know if you would use the setup for yourself. But if you guys want to watch more videos like this one, YouTube thinks you're gonna like this video right here. But until next time, I'm Fernando, and I'm out of here, everybody. Peace. Happy gaming.